Goliath the Giant. Now, we've all heard stories of him and how he got beaten, but supposedly he was between 6 to 10 foot tall. Now, there's no actual records, so this is just a guess. But if he was between 6 to 10 foot tall, that makes him the same height as an Anunnaki, which then makes me think, okay, maybe he wasn't an actual Nephilim giant, you know, which can go 20, 30, 40, 50, 450, as we've heard in some of the other videos, foot tall. So if he was about 10 foot, he could have just been an Anunnaki, and he could have been a soldier or something like that. Now, was he real? Well, they actually, back in 2005, found some pottery with the word Goliath on it in the same area, and it dated, give or take, about 70 years from the time of Goliath was there. So certainly the name suggests he was there, or someone with his name. Greek mythology or fact. Now, this is a cyclops called Polymathus, probably pronounced wrong, and he supposedly was the son of Poseidon. Now, we all know who Poseidon actually was, Enki, an Anunnaki, and Thusa, I think her name is. And now that would make sense again, because the giants were offspring of the Anunnaki, so Enki could have had another child, and it could have been this. Now, we can see that there's possibly a deformity happening, because nowhere in the other descriptions were the Anunnaki only had one eye. So this stands that, you know, there is deformities going on with them. Now, he was also a cannibal in terms of eating little humans. There's no real height to him. No one's sort of said 100% how tall he was, but apparently he was massive, and he would eat people. Another story of giants, this time in Malta, stroke Gozo. Now, this is called the Temple of Giants, or Giants Temple, and it was supposedly created by a female giant, possibly a cyclops, and the story goes that she pushed up these boulders by her own bare hands while having her baby straddled to her back, which is pretty impressive. Malta having giants isn't so far-fetched when you realise that some of these huge ancient monuments that they've built have stones that are 22 tons. Now, that's pretty impressive for a tiny little island, and they're again made of limestone, which would go back to my theory of levitating. But anyway, Malta's also got the elongated skulls, which I've suggested are Anunnaki, and they're missing the sutra there. So Malta had giants and Anunnaki arrive there, which makes sense. Did giants really exist? Now, we've been talking about giants and the mythology of them, but let's see if there was actually any evidence left behind. Now, there's these giant axes and giant sword and giant footprints. I'll go into footprints later on, but yes, there's many of them out there. And giant swords, and even, wait for it, watch this. And this is in Malta, this one.
The Archaeology Museum holds interesting artifacts from Malta's megalithic sites, including the remains of what looks like the statue of a giant female, and even an oversized cup.
Oversized cup in Malta, which is where I've suggested that was a race of giants, which was spoken about in the last video. So you can see it's all slowly coming together now. Human giant footprints. It's quite amazing what mainstream say they are. They say they're dinosaurs, they say they're a trick of the light, just like the face on Mars. They say that they're natural formations, but what they don't say is that they believe that they're actually genuine footprints from absolutely humongous giants, even though our ancient history suggests that there were giants that were absolutely humongous, as well as the fossils that has been taken by the Smithsonian and never released. So, but when you break down where the majority of these giant footprints come from, it's South Africa. Anyone that's watched these videos I've been doing knows that South Africa is where the humans were that were mining for the gold for the Anunnaki. So if the Anunnaki were there watching over the humans, they would have possibly interbred with them, created the Nephilim, the giants, and that's why when you see South Africa, you see a lot of giant footprints, which makes sense. I just want to ask you guys if, forgive the picture by the way, the reason why I'm putting pictures here is because it turns out pictures of or women on the TikToks seem to get millions of views, and unfortunately mine only gets a couple of hundred. So I was just going to ask, how far do you want me to go into our true history? I mean, do you want me to go into Hercules, who Hercules was, the Odyssey, that kind of depth into mythology, which obviously is based on facts? So if you could let me know how deep, or are you just happy for me to sort of skim past that side of it and go on to the next topic, as opposed to continuing on from the Anunnaki to Romans and Greeks, etc. If you could just let me know. This was Gal Gadot, by the way, not me.